Japan's railgun shockwave, the weapon the world thought was dead, is back, and this time. It's real. Picture a weapon that needs no explosives, leaves no smoke trail, and slams into its target with the force of a small bomb. At speeds no conventional shell can touch. For decades, the railgun lived in slide decks and science fiction, a clean, scary promise of future naval power. Then, when the U.S. quietly shelved its ambitious program in 2021, many sighed with relief, thinking the dream had died. They were wrong. Japan picked up the gauntlet, and what they have shown so far is enough to make even the skeptics sit up, listen, and worry. This video walks you through what a railgun actually is, why it kept failing in practice, how Japan solved some of the worst problems, and what this means for the global balance of naval power. Expect sparks, setbacks, scientific grit, and a probable geopolitical domino effect to drag the U.S. back into the race, whether Washington likes it or not. Think of a railgun as artillery reinvented, electricity doing the work that gunpowder used to do. Instead of a charge and a fireball, a railgun uses two long rails, a conductive slug or sabot bridging them, and an enormous current. That current generates magnetic forces, which shove the projectile down the guides, accelerating faster than chemical propellants can dream of. The damage is pure kinetic energy, like being hit by a meteor at bullet speed, not a fragmentation blast. The result, in theory, is cheap rounds, no explosives to store, and ranges and velocities that rewrite the rulebook. The operating principle is elegant, but the engineering... Three problems kept railguns in the lab, and they are stubborn. Power, raw and massive, has to be available on a ship that also runs radars, missiles, and engines. Early designs needed tens of megawatts, and capacitors the size of small rooms. Heat and wear, the rails and armatures see brutal currents and friction, melting away the very surfaces that guide the projectile. That meant short life for barrels, costly maintenance, and inconsistent performance. Electromagnetic forces are also mechanical forces. They try to rip the rails apart in the blink of an eye, creating structural stress that is hard to contain on a moving ship. Together, these issues turned a glamorous concept into an expensive, marginally useful prototype. By 2021, the U.S. Navy had spent hundreds of millions, seen promising tests, but concluded the cost-benefit was not there for operational deployment. In the 1990s and 2000s, U.S. labs pushed the envelope, firing tungsten projectiles at muzzle energies that read like small explosions. In 2010, the Office of Naval Research set records with single shots in the tens of megajoules range, and BAE Systems delivered prototypes. But mounting costs, power integration headaches, and competing priorities like hypersonic weapons and directed energy lasers nudged the program off the front burner. By the early 2020s, the railgun was officially deprioritized, documented, and shelved, but not fully erased. Japan did not rush for headlines. Beginning around 2016, its Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency, ATLA, began a steady, methodical program. Early public tests in 2023 showed the railgun fired from a ship platform, an important proof of concept that moved experiments from land test ranges to the hostile, moving environment of the ocean. From there, the program focused on the three core problems: power, wear, and repeatability. Two sorts of advances stand out in the official and independent reporting: materials and discharge methods, which dramatically reduced new alloys, clever cooling, and a different way of delivering the pulse mean rails do not melt and flake away after a handful of shots, as they once did. ATLA claims the system maintained muzzle velocity after long firing runs. Power integration, using containerized generators and capacitor banks packaged for shipboard use, allowed the prototype to be mounted on JS Asuka, a dedicated test ship. Because making a railgun fit into a real, seaworthy platform has always been the main showstopper. Photos released in 2025 show not only the launcher, but the supporting gear, neatly stowed in containers on deck. Here is what is being reported, and why it matters. Trials conducted between June and early July 2025 aboard JS Asuka included long-range firings and shots at a moving target vessel. ATLA released images and a terse statement confirming a successful shipboard firing at a real ship. Reported muzzle velocities are jaw-dropping, with multiple outlets citing speeds in excess of 2,000 meters per second, roughly Mach 6 to Mach 7 depending on conditions. That places the railgun in a league that could challenge hypersonic threats and hit ships well beyond conventional gun ranges, using only kinetic impact. Perhaps most important, ATLA and individual reporters noted sustained firing performance, including runs of more than 100 consecutive shots without a drop in muzzle velocity, a sign that the rail and pulse technologies are holding up. If true and reproducible, this changes the calculus from a fragile laboratory toy to a potentially operational weapon. This is where the drama gets geopolitical teeth. For Japan, the railgun is not merely a new gun, it is a strategic signal, especially in a region where missile threats from neighbors are growing more capable. A working railgun says, I can increase the cost and risk of aggression. I can protect islands and sea lanes with a low-cost, magazine-rich weapon capable of contesting hypersonic and conventional threats. For the United States, Japan's progress is a political and military nudge. Washington has the technology base, the industrial suppliers, and the budgets to re-enter the fight quickly if the political will exists. Already, reports say Japan has sought closer cooperation with U.S. naval authorities to leverage both countries' work and avoid duplicating effort. That means a revival of American interest is not just possible. It is likely if Japan's tests continue to look real and reliable. Don't mistake enthusiasm for finality. There are still gaps. Ship integration at scale remains hard, bigger than fitting a railgun on a test ship once. Most frontline
Logistics Agency made an unprecedented public invitation to American defense contractors to join the Japanese railgun program. It wasn't just a technological breakthrough, it was a direct challenge to America's military leadership. Host of geopolitical implications. After decades of being America's second the United States, after the defense authority equaling geopolitical power, can America afford to let urgent if we consider what electromagnetic railguns could mean for the Pacific region? As China expands its naval presence and territorial claims 60 kilometers away with impressive accuracy, launching projectiles that arrived within minutes with great force. All out of not America. What does this mean for the United States military dominance in the Pacific? Japan plans to equip future Project 13 destroyers entering service in the 2030s with electromagnetic guns. 2024, Japan signed official agreements with France and Germany for the joint development of electromagnetic weapon technology, creating a strong international consortium with the United States. This results in a situation few military strategists expected. United States allies developing and deploying better weapons without United States involvement. The timeline is accelerating while the Pentagon focuses its attention on other priorities. Japan is turning the electromagnetic railgun once America, as tensions with China, North Korea, and Russia grow. The technological gap is increasingly concerning. Before the United States gets back in the race, the Japanese solved barrel erosion that caused problems before. The American program opened with Japan explicitly inviting American participation. The technical foundation, built on years of Pentagon-funded research, already exists. The strategic response from adversaries who are also developing their own advanced weapons. What's missing is America's will to realize innovation sometimes needs collaboration. Being a partner is better than being left behind. This moment means more than one weapon system's fate. It could decide who will control the electromagnetic weapons that will, and as China continues its military buildup and territorial aggression, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will America set aside race by partnering with Japan? Or Or will budget limits and national pride force the United States to watch as its allies advance with the weapon of the future? Should the United States partner with Japan to regain its advantage in the field of railguns? Or was it right to abandon this technology? Write your opinions in the comments. This implications are huge, because in the race for electromagnetic dominance, second place means not just defeat, lost ground, or will they lose this race forever? And what's even more shocking, Japan has just invited America to join them in the program. After giving up on 17 years of development, the United States now faces a humiliating choice. Should they partner with their own former students or watch as Japan, Germany, and France control the arrival of no missile trail across the sky? Just pure destruction at Mach 7. This is the difference that makes railguns weapons unlike anything we've seen before. But how do they actually work? While conventional naval guns launches the projectile at high speed, which defies imagination, but here's the part that keeps military planners up at night. A single railgun projectile costs about $25,000. It might seem like a lot until you compare it to the Tomahawk